This is Investing Ideas by ValueInvestAsia.com.
Hi guys, this is Stanley again. Welcome back to Investing Ideas. This week, we talked to Dawn, the founder of SG Budget Babe, a very popular personal financial blog here in Singapore. Dawn is kind enough to share with us one of her favorite stock right now, which is Tencent Holdings. If you guys know, Tencent Holdings is also one of my personal favorite stock, but in this interview, I'll try to be the devil's advocate in challenging her idea and why she's so convinced that Tencent would still soar greater heights in the future. So without further ado, let's get started.
From ValueInvestAsia.com, this is Investing Ideas, where we talk to investors from all walks of life, learn from them, and find out some of their favorite investment ideas.
Hello Dawn, how are you?
Hi, Danny. I'm good.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Every week we have this episode on investing ideas where we talk to different investors around, and it's a great privilege that we can speak to you as well. Maybe for those who might not have heard of you or your blog, maybe why don't you give a little bit introduction about your blog and what do you do?
Yeah, sure. So hi everyone. My name is Dawn, and I write at hkg.com. So I started writing in late 2014. So it's been more than 5 years, about almost 6 years right now. And it's really all about personal finance. And in the beginning, it was centered a lot on how I save money, how I cut down my expenses, what kind of insurance to get and whatnot. But I guess after a while, I started to realize that there's only so much you can cut, but not grow. And if you're in a job where your salary is determined by someone else other than you, then that you can't really keep banking on that one source to increase your earning income. So what I thought was, I need to start looking outside for other sources, and that was when I got introduced to investments. So it was actually thanks to a reader who left some comment on my blog, and after a lot of other readers jumped in, more experienced people guiding this young 20-something-year-old girl who just saved $20,000 and trying to explain to her that instead of leaving it in a bank account, why not you start looking into investment? So that really intrigued me, and that was when my investing journey started. So I initially started off by reading lots and lots of books, like The Intelligent Investor, and I devoured lots of stuff about Warren Buffett, Peter Lynch, and all the other seasoned legendary investors in the market. But one thing I realized was, a lot of the books and investing literature right now is centered on the US market, right? Western market, Western world, and a lot of it is not really applicable to Asia. So that was when I realized, okay, so maybe now I should start looking into more Asian-centric insights and start talking to more Asian investors, read Asian business news. So then that started the curve. But I think later on in 2015 and 2017, those were years where I really wanted to expose myself more to other investors. And then that was where I attended courses and got to know a different approach to how these investors look at Asian stocks, and that was really helpful for me. In fact, I actually kind of wish that I started investing through all of these courses up front. It would have saved so much of my time, and a lot of mistakes that I made using just US metrics and US approaches that weren't quite relevant in Asia. Because I just give you an example, in the US, right? Because the way the SEC works and how they run their related parties transactions is very clear cut. But in Asia, that's not the case, right? And in fact, in Asia, you do a lot of business through relationships, right? You would give this business to, let's say, your brother-in-law's company, or this girl that you're dating, and you want to give it to brother or parents. So there's a lot of these kind of things which makes it a little bit murky, but it isn't really the case in US because of a whole different regulatory landscape. So yeah, then what I decided, I just write in my insights on my blog. So I'm also really thankful that lots of people find that useful and they've been sharing it. So in a span of an eye, it's been almost more than 5 to 6 years now, and I think moving forward, there's going to be a lot more writings that I'm doing. And yeah, so I look forward to hearing from everyone, and hopefully everyone finds that useful.
Amazing, amazing. Wow, I have to say because in the field of financial blogging, and especially when we talk about investment, since I have been in the field for quite some time, it is very very hard to find a female like writer like yourself who is very learned in investing and also interested in investing. Do you feel quite lonely in this space?
Well, actually, I think it's an advantage, right? Like, I mean, it's really the mindset. A lot of people look and say, like, oh, there's no real good female investor. All of the good ones are male. Like, there's no good female writers. They're all guys. But I'm like, hey, what's really our gender defined? I think I want to be known for who I am and what I am rather than what I'm born as. So, yeah, and I think actually being female gives me a very different approach to things because I realize, right, a lot of male investors tend to be very quantitative, right? So I think that's why we do so much also because like you also look a lot at quality and that's the kind of angle that I'm more towards. So like the females, we tend to see things a little bit differently. We also look at how management manages their staff, what kind of incentive they give to have their staff grow, what kind of authority, leadership. Whereas like, the males are very quant driven or TA, right? I actually don't do much TA and I'm not a big believer on it, mainly because I don't have the time that I can that I can put aside for that. So I think being female actually gives an advantage because like I get to see things in a slightly different light and at the same time I hope like this also inspires and motivates more females out there because a lot of like for ages women have just been delegating the financial stuff to their males like their husbands and they don't really work on being financially independent. They feel that they're not good enough. But I want to change that whole mindset. It's like you're good enough and you stay and you think that you can be. So I think this is actually a good spot to be in.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, you're definitely breaking new barriers here, and hopefully more and more female bloggers and also female investors will start sharing their views, and so that we can have a more, like I said, a more diversified view in this space. I understand that today you have prepared a wonderful stock for us to share with. And now before that, why don't you share a little bit about how you construct your portfolio? Like normally, how many stocks do you think that is a good size of your portfolio, the number of stocks that you should have or you have right now in your portfolio? And which market are you generally more focused on inside your portfolio?
Okay, so a quick introduction to my investing approach. I like all the different methods that people use, right? So my key ones are the dividend investing. I also love value investing. I like looking for undervalued stock, and I also love growth investing. So it's really about marrying all three together, and that's why like when I invest, although I do kind of separate my portfolio because like my dividends portfolio is one that I'm banking on to really see me through retirement as well through passive income, and then I'm using my value stock portfolio to really like look for good capital gains and returns by identifying what the market is undervaluing. And then my growth stock portfolio is really something for the future. So I try to marry all three of them if I can and find companies who pay out dividends, are not overly valued, but yet have great growth potential in the future. But I think the stock that I'm going to be sharing with you today doesn't really quite fit into that. If you draw a bank, like the middle sweet spot, right? So this stock doesn't really fit in there. It actually is quite overvalued at the moment. But my thesis and my view is that it will only keep going up because it reminds me a lot about when I was looking at Google back in early 2016, and I was just like, oh my goodness, it's so expensive. I think back then it was like $600, $700. I was like, oh, it's too expensive. You know what? I regretted it. Just look at where Google is now. So this stock reminds me a lot about that experience, and that's why I think like these valuations can only get even higher because a lot of the work that the company is doing now has a very good proven track record, and in the future it should continue to grow. As for what kind of how many stocks I have in my portfolio, that really can vary. I don't really try to limit myself so much. It's more in terms of my bandwidth, how much I can monitor. But right now, I think I have about say less than 30 in my stock portfolio, and a lot of it are in markets like SGX, as well as the US. I don't have much in Hong Kong at the moment, but with the project and now the virus, a few that
you definitely have a lot of experience under your belt on investing. And I guess this company is, like you said, you haven't really invested into the Hong Kong market, and yet this company is, one of the largest stock on the Hong Kong exchange. Definitely, I'm very excited to hear it from you. Why don't you go ahead and introduce the company to our audience?
Yeah, sure. So, for those of you who are unfamiliar, this is one stock that I feel is undervalued, although many people argue otherwise. And I think the main reason is because we're not really factoring in the growth potential that it has in the future, which is really, really huge. So let's just talk a little bit more about growth stocks, right? We have to analyze them very differently, and I think there's not a lot of literature or good investing books out there that really talk about it. They do have lots of literature on like dividends and undervalued stocks, which is the Warren Buffett way. But even if you look at Warren Buffett in recent years, he's also starting to shift a little bit more to growth stocks, right? We've seen that, haven't we? So growth stocks, what I typically look at are really high quality businesses, and they should be positioned in a growing industry of the future. For example, e-commerce, healthcare, solar power, clean energy, so those kind of stuff, or even biopharma, so on and so forth. And ideally, they want to have a certain level, moderate to high barriers of entry, because if it's too easy, then everyone will just be jumping on the bandwagon. So we don't want that. You could be like number one today and like out of the race tomorrow. So we try to look out for those kind of modes. And the key thing to note is that valuations are seldom cheap. So if you grew up or if you were exposed right to the beginning and to the whole Warren Buffett philosophy and Benjamin Graham methods, then this is quite difficult to switch, right? Because it warrants a whole change in your mindset and how you look at things. But honestly, I think the results speak for itself. And if we look at how growth stocks have performed in the last few years, last 5 to 10 years, they've actually returned far better yield and better returns on your money than just value stocks per se. So this is where I'm headed, and the stock of for my pick today definitely Tencent. So it's listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, and it had a market capitalization of I think about 3 trillion HKG right now. It's the largest stock on the exchange, and its revenue is more than 300 billion RMB. So it's huge. It's like this big technology giant that has its arms and fingers in almost every single place of the pie. And its profit is also really, really good. Out of that revenue, almost 1/3 of it are profit. So those are really good margins that we're seeing. And this is the part that's very difficult, right? Because the value investor tends to look for things that are cheap, but the PE for this company is totally not cheap at all. When I was looking at it in late last year, because I was trying to look for another entry in, it was at about 38 or 39 times PE. Today, in the latest review, it's like 41. So yeah, not cheap at all. But let's see whether this is a good one to be in, right? So the key thing is that one of the biggest revenue contributors for Tencent is in the gaming market. And in China, you have a lot of brands competing for this share of the pie, such as Tencent, NetEase, Yuzu, Perfect World, KingNet. So a lot of competition out there, but it is quite telling that Tencent actually dominates the China mobile gaming market. So that's one good part, right? But China is already big enough as a market, but we don't want to just stop there. Let's aim for globally. So how do they look like globally? Basically, if you look at the biggest companies making the most money from games, basically number one place is Tencent. Number 2 is Sony. Number 3 is Activision, Blizzard, and Apple is in 5th place, right? So I think that's a really strong revenue contributor segment that will continue to grow. And although there's been some negative news recently because of the Chinese regulators clamping down and slowing game approvals, I think that whole part has been really blown out of proportion. And recently, one of their most recent launches also did pretty well. So I think there's lots of opportunities out there for them to grow this market further. And if you look at its other competitors, what are the other competitors in the technological space, and how do they exactly compete or compare to America one? So on this slide, I found this really useful infographic that looks at all of these in tandem, and you'll be able to see, right, visually, like Apple, we all know it's like the big giant. I regret selling my Apple shares so early.
I'm sure you are well compensated for your for your investment.
I did a lot more, So yeah, that was one mistake. Because back then I really was subscribed to the whole value philosophy. And then I made a lot of mistakes on growth stocks, selling them instead of holding them all the way. Yeah, so because at the time when I sold it, value was for Apple was quite overrated lah. Yeah, but just look at that, it just got more and more expensive. So that's the thing, right? In the past, if you told people that mobile phones would sell for $1,000, everyone called you crazy. But look at where we are now. So I think that's the shift that we need to look at for the future as discretionary income start growing up. And Apple right now is like this huge big circle. And then Amazon is the next and followed by Alphabet. So if you look at Tencent right now, it's almost the same level as Facebook. And I think Tencent is actually not even just Facebook. They are more like Alphabet, in my opinion. So if we're going to look at the verticals later on, and you understand why I feel this might just be the next Asian Google. Okay, so if we look at social media then, which is another segment, Facebook and WhatsApp are obviously world number one, right? No competition there. But it's interesting to look at the next few ones, which is QQ and WeChat. In fact, WeChat is bigger than Instagram, although these numbers might have changed in recent years, ever since Facebook acquired Instagram and kind of combined those numbers together. But WeChat is huge. And it's very, very strong in China. In fact, like I travel quite a bit to China to do some of my research, and almost everyone is on WeChat. It's almost as prevalent, even more prevalent than the Grab Pay sticker that you see around our stores right now. So the WeChat sticker is almost everywhere, and I see it a lot more than the Alipay sticker.
Right.
Which is the stickiness of WeChat Pay versus Alipay, right? It's a lot more for WeChat. People are more attuned to that. Yeah, and that's acting like there's lots of more room for them to grow. And I think the other segment that I think is really interesting that people don't really pay as much attention to is the venture capital arm of Tencent. So, we all know the spectacular failure of the WeWork IPO, okay? But, the key thing of VCs is in how you spot those unicorns, and everyone wants to be part of the next big unicorn, right? That's why we had like big valuations for Uber and WeWork, so on and so forth. And if you look at globally, right, what are the top 10 investors for global unicorn? Sequoia Bank, everyone knows them by now, is number 1. Number 2 is Tencent.
Right.
SoftBank. I was actually quite surprised when I saw this because I initially expected and I thought SoftBank would be number 2. But
okay.
They've been investing in like your JDs, your Tuo, and these are really, and even TT Choosing. So these are really big global unicorns. You see them like they're like the next Uber, the next kind of Amazon, and it's really good bets, and they've been growing really well. So I think this is another very big contributing segment that we should not neglect. Okay, so now I'm on slide 9. You'll see the whole universe of Tencent. Doesn't it remind you of Google?
Definitely, it's almost a hot melting pot of everything.
And of course the critics would argue like if you have your hands in too many pies, then you just get burned or your ship sinks. But I beg to differ otherwise, because how management have actually organized this reminds me a lot of how Google approached it in its early days. So they had lots of different stuff that they were trying out, and they gave people authority in each new product line or new R&D segment that they were testing, and those people basically own the business. And that's exactly how Polima is doing it right now for Tencent. So in each different vertical, in each different business unit, you have different leaders heading it up, and the focus is really laser focused on growth and acquisition. So I think that's great because you don't just have one man trying to do a lot of things and obviously then you fail. You have different people who are strong in different areas. So I'll just talk about, let's say, their foray into the financial space as well as investments, right? So to do that, they actually hired an I think it was Goldman Sachs.
Right.
Yeah. So it was this guy who was the head, I can't remember his name. It was the head of, he headed up a pretty significant portion of Goldman Sachs business, and then he joined them to really grow their foray into fintech and investments and the wealth management space, and they've been making good progress. Yeah, and then they've been basically replicating this for the other business units by getting people in charge of those verticals. So there's a lot of ownership, there's a lot of drive to want to make sure your business unit performs well, right? Of course, there's also a lot of like loss-making bets, but come on, let's be honest. Google has those as well, right? How many projects have failed in Google? How many are still a big question mark? We don't know. But the key thing is in managing what you put into your R&D and new businesses, and then cutting out those if they really don't turn profitable or they don't really make much sense later on, and then while still focusing on your core business areas. So to sum it up, if you look at this page, right, it's humongous. They have communications, QQ Messenger, QQ Mall, WeChat. They are pretty big in search, right? Soku is number 3 in China. Of course, it's not as big as like your Baidu lah. But I think number 3 is also it's not bad because it's one vertical that they're trying to grow more. And Baidu is also slowly losing stream as we go on. Lots of competition eyeing them because they're number 1. In terms of games, they are definitely just number 1, no doubt about that. And not just China globally, but they also link up with CJ Games, which is very big. The Koreans would probably know them. And that really cement them further for more growth in this industry. You know, even my friend, right, who works for a Russian gaming company, knows Tencent. It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know Tencent was that big. Like, well, because they kind of operate under so many different arms, but honestly, they are just one big conglomerate. People only see like a different part. You need to look at a bigger picture, right? And you have like they're trying to venture into software and apps, and this is something that I think we need to watch because it's not entirely performing at the best right now. But who knows what it'll be like in the future. And there's also lots of e-commerce platforms. So aside from JD, they've also been making a lot of progress into like Pinduoduo, which basically is like a group buying platform. So it's very good because it utilizes WeChat's current strength. Because when you're trying to do a group buy, where do you share it? Let's look at us, right? Like I'm in a lot of mommy groups, and when we want to do group buys, we just promote it on WhatsApp. And there's like specific crap chat groups that is centered only for that group buy. And they already have the WeChat interface. Now just integrating and promoting Pinduoduo makes perfect sense. So I think that's another good way they're doing it. They also have lots of omni-channel, like your Didi choosing, which is the biggest in China. You go anywhere, lots of people prefer taking Didi rather than the taxis. And then of course they're also venturing into entertainment, social media. They're trying to do like mini Facebook for different niche, like Pengyou for university students, and then like Qzone for teenagers, and like City Elite for adults. So they're testing out all of these different things. They even have like a China Craigslist. Yeah, and we also know I studied in the US, Craigslist, so big, right? So this could be another area that we want to be watching out for to see how these future bets will pay off. So if you were to sum up all of that, I think it's quite clear for anyone to see that they're the largest technology company in China, plus the number 1 gaming company in the world. So if you put all of that together, it just means that they're a leader in social media, gaming, fintech, video streaming, and now they're trying to go B2B into cloud computing as well. But just take note, their biggest competitor here is Alibaba. So yeah, lots of competition.
Yeah, you mentioned about their competition with Alibaba, especially now when both of them is actually much bigger than the next competitor, which is of course JD and Baidu, right? I think they're at least in terms of market cap, the two companies are like 10 times bigger than JD or Baidu. But with all the different segments of Tencent, which one would you say that you are most optimistic about?
Multiple actually. So
okay.
The key revenue streams, right? Over here I've actually listed it out. So WeChat is a huge one. Gaming is also one of the core. They're also moving and trying to monetize more for advertising, and I think this is just super easy because of the existing infrastructure that they already have in place. And then digital content. Now, digital content is still relatively new. It's only in the last few years that we're starting to see things like paywalls and like support the writer on like certain platforms. Like I don't know, I think you can support the writer on Medium as well, and a few other platforms is coming out. Patreon is another one. So this is something new that the world is generally shifting to, and I think Tencent is in a very good position to take advantage of that. They already started rolling it out, and we should be seeing more traction in the future. The payment platforms as well, because really WeChat Pay is ubiquitous in China. It's literally everywhere. Just take a trip to China and you'll see for yourself. Even the beggars literally have a WeChat QR code. You don't give them cash. You don't accept cash anymore. It's all QR code to WeChat. So that's quite interesting. And then because you're on the WeChat platform as well, they're trying to go into your wealth management by offering you investments. I was talking to some people in China, and it's starting to pick up, but we're still in the early stages. So yeah, I think all of this combined together, lots of revenue streams that they can tap on. And of course, the biggest really would be to watch WeChat and its relevant parties as well as the gaming portion.
Right. Okay. Maybe just understand your history of investing in this company. How long have you been invested in this company?
So I'm not invested right now. I haven't bought in, so I'm actually giving you guys a really good tip.
Wow, thank you so much. So you actually sharing the idea first before you are looking at it.
One thing that's been coming up is the investor sentiment, right? And investor sentiment to Tencent was the lowest recently with the Chinese regulatory slowdown. It started picking up recently, and now I'm trying to get in because I have this cash right now that I want to go in with.
Right.
But because of how the recent news and the media scene is like, there hasn't really been that much of an impact. So I'm still waiting. So yeah, give me a chance to enter in again. But I've been basically eyeing this company for at least, I think I've been watching it for 2 years already.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you waiting for?
What am I waiting for?
Yeah.
To go down lah.
Okay, maybe at the end we'll talk a little bit about how you think of valuation and what is a fair valuation that you want to think about. But of course, as you know, being one of our members in VIA Club, this is a company that I actually own as well. And it's one of my core portfolio stock. But I feel obligated to challenge you on your idea since you're bringing this idea onto our show.
What was the entry price? You should share first.
I think compared to when I first invested, it has roughly doubled since I last invested. But going back to the stocks, right? I want to dig your brain a little bit. When you think about tech in China, yes, they are one of the largest. But we also seen how the government have such a strong shadow hand in the tech sector as well. And you mentioned that in 2008, right, when they put a slowdown in the gaming sector, it really hampered their growth a little bit. And do you see that as how do you mitigate that risk? Because no matter what, they would need the buy-in of the government. And we've seen actually to some of their competitor like ByteDance, especially when they are not able to control their platform well, there are some instances where the government might come in and actually shut down some of their projects directly. Is there something that you're comfortable with, and how do you think of the whole situation?
I think if you look historically at how China is run, right, you really need to have very good relationships with the government, and you have seen basically those stocks and companies that have grown over the years are those that have the support and they're riding. So the government is like a tailwind, right? It basically kind of propels their growth further. And I think in this part, Tencent has proven themselves to be very adept at working with the government. Let's just look at the recent virus situation, for instance. So they're having lots of problems trying to control the people, contain the virus, and look at what Tencent did. They're trying to go into like safety and security tracking because everyone has WeChat on their phone, right? So they're trying to help the government on that. And I think all of these little things that they've done over the past few years, the relationship that they've built, place them in a very good position to be discussing and negotiating with the government. Now, I think the other part is also how they basically manage the expectations and they work together in tandem because, like you said, the technology companies in China cannot be on the wrong side, right? This is why I'm also a bit wary to put my bets on a smaller company that hasn't yet had a proven track record of managing that relationship with the Chinese regulators. But I think on this front, Tencent has been really good. The way they reacted to the Chinese regulatory game slowdown, the way they've reacted in this coronavirus crisis, it really shows that support and partnership with the government. So I think this is actually not a big problem. In fact, it's a better factor helping companies like Tencent and Alibaba versus your other smaller companies like ByteDance.
Why don't we also talk a little bit about their financials and how do you see them? We want to share a little bit about how you look at their financials and what's your expectation on it.
Yeah, sure. So basically, if we were to zoom straight ahead to slide 16, right, you'll see here that I've actually consolidated their past few years of financials. This was quite easy because I've been monitoring for a while. So I've just updated it with their third quarter earnings and just look at there, and we can clearly see an uptrend. Right, it's a very obvious uptrend, and 2016 and 17 are probably the biggest jump in revenue. Okay, but profit has also been quite consistent. Okay, and I see right now, if you add up Q1, Q2, Q3 for 2019 so far, I think they're on track to having even more, right? Although, however, because of this whole virus situation, that might just have some dent in their business, especially if they push out more on R&D during this period instead of their I mean, it really depends because it can go both ways, right? You stay at home more, so you gain more. But yeah, anyway. So I think with this situation and the economic slowdown, there is a cause for concern, which is why I'm not rushing to buy Tencent right now. It actually came quite close to my target price, but yeah, it was just a few dollars above, so my order didn't get through. Yeah, but anyway, so if you look at their financials, the gross profit is really, really amazing, right? It's almost half or more than that of its revenue. Net profit is also very astounding. It's one third. It's ranging on a 1/3-ish, so 30-ish%, which is very, very admirable. And in fact, if they didn't make so much investments into new potential business units and R&D, then this would be even higher. So if you look at really the cash that they have and the profit that they're making from their business on a regular basis, this is very sticky.
Some people is saying that because of the current health outbreak in China, it's actually very, very good for company like Tencent, because everybody cannot go out, and so they end up playing game at home. Apart from the expectation on the growth and everything, there's a lot of chat on how China is moving forward with 5G and the new telecommunication movement and transition. What's your view on that? And how would it actually sort of benefit Tencent, or does it really matter to Tencent on that transition?
I think the impact will be minimal. It's just more that with the move to 5G, as speed become better, faster, and things start loading faster, then it creates a bit of stickiness, because then you're more compelled, you become more efficient, and therefore you use your phone more as well, because there's just a lot more things that you can do. Productivity levels increases, but I think other than that, it's not much of a direct impact. Yeah, what's your views? You're just asking me, I should ask you back.
I do agree with you. I think it will take quite a while for them to really make use of the full potential of 5G, especially even if the infrastructure is there. The services that can benefit from it will have to be built up slowly as well. So definitely it will help. Tencent would, with the better connectivity and better speed, maybe Tencent will end up innovating more and more services that you can do online, which you cannot really do with 4G right now, right? Especially on real-time data transfer and things like that.
Okay, interestingly, China has already announced that it's already starting research on 6G. Wow. Okay, but anyway, so with their foray into the cloud infrastructure business, and they are slowly winning away market share from Alibaba and the other competitors, that's another field that we want to watch. So Tencent is also trying to transform away from the consumer. It's done amazingly well in the B2C segment, right? Consumer net. But now moving forward, they want to go down the industrial internet path, which is where we are seeing the Western world move towards as well. So that's a good portion where it will be directly impacted by 5G.
In your mind, what could go wrong for this company? Because you talk about how well they have been growing, how well their relationship is with the Chinese government, and so they have the support of the government as well, they have so many different sectors, and when I ask you which are the sector that you're optimistic about, you're actually every single sector that you're very optimistic about them. But so what could be the problem with this company that we have to look out for? What could go wrong?
Yeah, I think if we were to zoom straight ahead to slide 22, right, you'll see that now the risk I foresee for this company is in the competition. This so competition-wise, right, in the gaming sector, they really need to watch out for folks like NetEase. But I think that's why they are also they're quite smart. They know this, right? So they're trying to build partnership to cement their market leading position. So this is something that we want to watch, because when the competition starts eroding in, if their future games are not as well received, then it's really up to them to see how they actually take that feedback and transform for the next future launches. It's just like I give an example. In the past few years of Disney, right, lots of people, the sentiment turned quite negative at some point, because like the quality of the stuff that Disney was producing just wasn't really making it. And then they basically took over Pixar and they started revamping it, and they gave full authority, full freedom, creative freedom to Pixar. And then now you see your huge launches like Frozen, and everyone's going crazy over it, and then the valuations bring up again. So I think that's something that we need to watch. So investors of Tencent should be monitoring it regularly to identify how the competition is doing, and then decide like if Tencent is adapting well, and if not, maybe like scale back on your investments, or like adopt and wait and see approach. The other challenge would be the slowdown in PC gaming. So I Tencent knows this as well, right? And they're moving more towards like mobile gaming, mobile apps. So I think this will kind of offset that. But this overall is a world and industry issue that everyone is trying to grapple with. Activision Blizzard basically faces the same kind of challenges. So we want to be watching this and see how successful Tencent is in moving into mobile gaming and really winning over more market share. Chinese regulators, like you mentioned, are another one. So I think there's a lot more concern now, because they're worried about the impact of the games on the Chinese youth, because communist country, censorship, right? So how will Tencent react to that? Will they be launching and innovating more games that are deemed as transmitting and teaching socially acceptable values, and basically winning over the approval of the government while still making it extremely fun to engage in? That's something that we want to see. So how they recruit talents is also another key thing, right? Of course, then there's also on the advertising portion. Now, this is the part where, although I'm optimistic, I'm also I'm cautiously optimistic, right? So I wouldn't say like just like you're saying, wow, everything's great. I'm cautiously optimistic in some of these verticals, because let's face it, it faces very strong competition from like your ByteDance and Baidu. But if we look at how they've been faring so far, let's just say everyone's been quite successful in stealing away Baidu's market share, even for ByteDance, right? So I would say to continue watching it. But the good thing is that Tencent already has an infrastructure to benefit more from advertising than its other competitors if they manage and harness it well. And then for cloud services, while that's a big growing industry, the question is, will Alibaba continue to be number one, or will there be enough space for the whole market to grow? So I'm of the view that the whole market will grow. We're starting to see more companies requiring cloud services, and because of what the Chinese regulators are doing against US companies, it's not that easy for US companies to penetrate. Just look at how Apple and Facebook have been having difficulties, and even Microsoft. So I think that actually will help the growth of the industry on the whole, and there's more than enough room for more than one player. So these are the risks that we would be watching for. In terms of management, which is another key risk in many Asian listed companies, the good thing is that with the restructuring, so Tencent has gone through many rounds of restructuring in the past, but right now, because of the way they give ownership to the different business units and the leaders leading up each, I think even if there's not really much of a key man risk, unlike some of the others, right? And you kind of like with Alibaba, you have a very attractive CEO, or with Tesla, you have Elon Musk. Tencent doesn't really have that. Pony Ma is quite revered, but he doesn't really kind of have that much of a charm or appeal to the mass public out there compared to these other people I mentioned. So even if say Pony Ma were to step down, which I don't think he will in the near future, I don't think that will lead on too much on the impact. And we've seen this recently, right? We saw the news. He recently sold some of his shares, although he's still 8%. So I don't know why there's so much hoo-ha. But anyway, so he sold quite a bit of his shares to raise several $100 million recently, and he cited it was for personal reasons. So it's really not much, and the market barely moved. I was actually hoping that there would be a crash, like, CEO suddenly let's go and sell more. And some like stock price never really get affected. So yeah, I think these are some potential risks to look out for, but yet Tencent is mitigating it quite well. The key question, I think, the biggest risk that we need to watch is in all their bets in all these other smaller sectors.
Right.
See, Tencent doing so many things, but the problem is a lot of some of these other companies are also loss-making. So how long more would they continue to run it to mitigate? Because if they keep just building the profits from like its gaming segment and WeChat to pay for all of these loss-making companies, then that's not sustainable in the long run. Right. So we need to really keep an eye on how they manage this whole ecosystem. And this is really the same problem that Google is facing.
Okay, wow, I think you have done a very, very deep analysis on the company. And of course, the most important question till the end is talking about valuation. You mentioned just now that the company nearly hit your target price and you almost got to invest in it. But how do you derive the valuation of this company, and how do you come up with a target price for this company?
Okay, so a few things I look at would be the cash position, right? So Tencent has a pretty healthy cash position, although it also has a lot of debt because of all its investment. But in growth companies, right, I think that's where the challenge lies. It's very hard to pinpoint a good valuation for a growth company because you kind of have to factor in future growth. And even models like DCF, I don't find are very useful because you are kind of projecting a constant growth rate for DCF. You have to make several assumptions in that model for you to arrive at a number. But that's not something that I feel is really applicable to growth companies because they just don't really operate that way. The curve could be like that rather than right? So how I determine it is really looking at historically where have its price levels been at. I look at it from like a whole like the entire range. So I usually click on all in the range on Google stock pricing as well as the 1 year pricing, and I try to look at the valuation. So I think for Tencent, a reasonable valuation that I'm willing to pay for would be anywhere in the 30 times P.
Right.
Yeah, but the problem is, like right now it's 40 plus, that's why I couldn't buy what's my target price, but like basically I was eyeing like mid 300s.
Right, okay. What happened if it never really hits your target price? Is it something that you don't mind just giving it a miss? How do you think of investing in such a growth company? Because for me, sometimes what I do is I might, even if I feel it's very overvalued, I might also invest a small position to get started with. For example, for Tencent, I remember when the first time I invested my first investment into it, I bought it at around 60 plus PE. You can say that it's very overvalued, but it turns out that on hindsight, it's actually still quite a good decision. Right? Do you fear that because you have quite a tight target price that you want to invest in, would that lead you to have a loss opportunity in this company in the future?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the same challenge that I face, right? So I keep asking myself, should I readjust my target? Actually, right, because I've been looking at Tencent even before, like throughout for quite a few years, even when I'm pregnant. And honestly, I really missed the boat. That's right. Tencent stock price went on a huge decline because of all the sentiment in 2018. But regular readers will remember that was when I was the most busy because I gave birth in November. And coincidentally, like a few weeks before I gave birth, literally 2 weeks before I gave birth, Tencent reached its lowest price of 260.
You still monitoring Tencent's price?
I know. I don't even know the valuation at that point because it's like I didn't really calculate it back then because honestly I mean I'm giving birth, right? Like who cares stop when you're giving birth? And then tear after like it just continued rising. But in 2019 I already wanted to go in for at the $300 level because I think valuations at that point were ranging at a healthy 30 plus, and I was very comfortable paying for that given the overall space. But it really is a challenge because I think I shared with you the last time we met. the problem with investing sometimes is that you also have to be in the right place at the right time. And I was not in a very good place in 2019 as well because I was coping to my new role as a mother. And honestly, I think I only bought like a very small handful of stocks in that year because I didn't really have much time to do research. I mean, mom's so busy, you know, your kids like coming from you every 2 to 3 hours. You need to think of like what to feed there, how to wean off, what school to send them to, what milk powder to give, what kind of games to play. So like mentally, I was just very overwhelmed. And that's why also like that was when my investment strategy started to shift more out of. I used to go for the very like the more smaller companies that you really have to monitor, but they have huge potential because if you really if you watch them and you get in and out at a fairly okay timing, right? This really gives huge returns. But then I got burnt on one because, like I shared with you, the price literally dropped like a sharp knife, and I didn't even react. In fact, I only saw it when it was too late. I think like 1 week later. How to react by then? It literally went down to a huge double-digit drop, and like I was like, at that point I might as well just leave it already because there's nothing I can do with it, and the position isn't very big anyway. So I think my approach towards growth companies, right, is generally to keep adjusting the valuation and the price that I'm willing to pay for. So at this point, the reason why I am not a big fan of going in right now is because the sentiment is too positive, right? Everyone is betting that because of the virus, everyone's staying indoor, and therefore Tencent will be one of those to benefit from it. The last earning results, they basically they surpass expectations, and these are generally times that I don't like to get in.
Right. Okay.
I prefer to wait for bad news.
Right.
And
Okay.
people start panicking. That's when you have a chance to go in on a growth stock. I give you an example: Facebook. Facebook is obviously like its growth trajectory is there, but in the last few years, there's been certain points, right, where it was heavily bettered because of the whole Cambridge Analytica scandal, as well as their privacy breaches and all. And at that point, if you entered, right, those were really, really great timings to go in. I'll give you another example: Disney. When people were expecting about the future of Disney, instead of now where everyone's like, wow, Disney Plus is coming up, they're gonna be like the next Netflix. And if you go in, right, the stock prices historically show you lah. So my approach with growth investing is really to look at the sentiment, which is a little bit hard to gauge. You really cannot be very sure. But I think that's the art of growth investing, right? You can go in expensive. If you're very play safe kind, you basically what I'll do is I'll divide the cash into multiple tranches, and then I'll just keep buying at certain percentage differences. But for me, I like to divide not into such big tranches, but also because if I'm very big on one stock, right, I tend to put a lot into it, and then I divide it accordingly. So I would adjust my valuation as the company grows, and I'll add more when sentiments are bad, and I'll avoid it entirely when sentiments are good.
Right.
What made you buy Tencent at 60 times PE? That was actually really good foresight.
On hindsight, of course, it feels like it's a good choice, but at that moment of time, you never really know, right? I think I went through a similar transition, such as you, where at the beginning I was very much a value investor, looking at very cheap stock and having to monitor them very seriously. Tencent is more of the stock that really make the shift into more of a long-term fundamental growth investor. And this is really something that I kind of go out on a limb on just trying, because that was the first growth stock that I bought, and I completely ignore the valuation part of it, just focusing on the fundamentals, because I'm trying out something new. And from that experience, it gave me the confidence that this kind of strategy actually works if our time frame is long enough, and if the company is really fundamentally strong and growing very aggressively. And from there, I was able to gain comfortable in investing in more other kinds of growth stock along the way as well. Thank you so much, Don, for sharing so much insight on this company. Do you have any closing statement for Tencent?
I think like we've been saying, right, the difficult part about investing in growth stocks is that it's very hard to really pinpoint a good price, a good valuation. That's why it's really not for the quant investors. if you want a mathematical formula, like someone to tell you, oh, you do this divided by this and then times this and that's where you get a price, you're not gonna find that in growth stocks. Because how do you put a price on the future? I foresee a lot of different growth that we want to be watching. So gaming is one. WeChat, how will they monetize WeChat further? So WeChat Pay is great, but how are they aiming to increase their margins? Because they're almost everywhere now, right? So if you're everywhere, the next thing is how do you make people, like you already have the audience, how do you earn more from this audience? And that's the problem that Tencent is facing right now. In terms of ads as well, how will they be able to stand out and really like change the WeChat platform to be more ad friendly and entice advertisers? So that's something that I'll be watching quite closely. In the cloud space, I mentioned they're not fantastic at B2B, not as good as Alibaba, but I think the whole market and the whole industry can grow. So we want to watch that. Insurance as well is another good part. So this is a growing industry. Everyone knows that in China, most people are underinsured or not even insured. So this is a huge market, and I think Tencent is well placed to tap on it, although a lot of competitors are also trying to go into it. In the area of health as well as education, they've also been making a lot of key partnerships. Like, did you know that Tencent actually partners with Lego for its education arm?
Wow, really?
So, right, lots of people also don't know. On music, right? So I put you, this is really like fairly new. So if you look at the US market, right, there was a Spotify SEC filing that was posted on February 10. Okay, it's actually dated end December, and it shows that Tencent owns 9.1% of common stock in Spotify. So it's actually quite interesting, right? Because if they own they control more than 16 million shares in Spotify as of the end of last year, and then we try and look at how Tencent Music Entertainment Hong Kong is coming in, and then how they are basically leading an entire consortium that's trying to buy over Universal Music Group, at least 10% of it. So could music also be a very big shift for Tencent in the future? That's something we don't know. But it's very interesting because if you don't really look at all these different factors, right, it might be quite hard to piece the puzzle together. But the facts show that Tencent already now has 9.1% in Spotify, and that's largely owned by Tencent Music Entertainment, the Tencent Mobility Image Frame Investment. We want to be looking at these for its stake in Spotify, and we all know Spotify is also growing in the music industry. In the future, we already don't have CDs. Really, a lot of people choose to buy and stream from Spotify.
Yep.
So this is actually another good area for us to look at, and we want to be looking at whether these future bets will pay off. So that's something that we need to kind of factor into the valuations when we try to figure out what kind of price we're willing to pay for. All right, and then they're also working very closely with the government for the education sector. So if we really try and look at some of the literature out there, right, that because of how they're working closely with the government, that's why I feel that government regulation is more of a tailwind rather than a headwind for them. I feel that right now, there's a lot of, in only moments of crisis, then we find good opportunity. And Tencent stock have not been performing extremely well since 2018. Okay, I think during this period is great, but I'm cautious to start going in right now. It's because sentiment is still quite optimistic, and anyway, the economic slowdown, you really don't know what will happen when the economy slows down. And it's all about opportunity cost. Because if you have 10K and you put it in Tencent, you could have actually put it in another stock that happened to be cheaper than Tencent at that point in time in the stock market. So this is something that I would consider and think about before I make my move, which is why I'm still sitting on the side. But to sum it up, my investment thesis for Tencent and why I like it so much is really because it's the 6th strongest brand in the world. And we've seen historically that brands have a very strong moat that is very difficult to erode. And Tencent knows this, right? So they really keep trying to build up more than one good brand. It's not just, Tencent is a parent company, but no one really had that loyalty to Tencent, right? So WeChat is your Pinduoduo, it's all your different sub-brands that they're really trying to push out, right? And then they're market leader in so many sectors, so they have a very strong moat. And the business model is why I like it so much is because it's less sticky. Once you're on WeChat, and because WeChat has just so many stuff integrated into it to make you want to stick around more, you're less inclined to change to another messaging app, which is why like we're so sticky on WhatsApp as well, right? Or Telegram. You kind of don't really change once you're in it because it's a network effect. All of your friends and almost the entire China is on WeChat.
Yes.
What is the of another messaging app coming over, right? So yeah, not much competition over there. And then it's also a very good, high quality and diversified technology giant. I feel really reminds me a lot of how Google was in its early days. And most importantly, right, the gross profit margins are really good. If I were to backtrack back to slide 18, right, you will see the segment gross margin for Tencent is very high. In their VAS segment, right, this is like 50 to 60%. The online advertising, this is like 40+%. Could that be more? Yeah, the market is still growing, right? The new market, so we don't know yet. The one that is not so great in comparison is like in their fintech and business services, but because that's very new, it's Tencent new foray. But even though it's so new, they're already at 20-something%. In some of the older companies in other stocks, right, you don't even see these kind of gross margins for the industries that they're in. So I think Tencent is in a very, very good place right now, and like that's maybe why I'm really hopeful about its future, and I will keep looking to add more. And I think what's going to happen in Tencent is I'm just going to keep adding as it goes higher and higher.
That's great. I can really see the amount of effort and research you have done into this stock, and it's amazing share you are sharing with us, and including sharing some of your mistake on your previous investment. I really hope one day you'll be able to find Tencent within your portfolio and find a target price that you are comfortable with and happy with, that you can start investing into this wonderful company. And so if you guys want to see Dawn's full presentation, I'll put a link down below so you can download it. And so this is Dawn, founder of SG Budget Babe. I'll also link her website down on the show notes so you can maybe connect with her and discuss more about Tencent or other stock that she might be owning as well. So
Before I do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so once again, thank you so much, Dawn, and I hope that maybe you come on to our show next time as well. Speak to you soon.
Thank you for listening. You can subscribe to our show on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. If you are feeling generous, please give us a rating and review as well. This would greatly help other investors find out about our podcast. To access our show notes, please go to valueinvestasia.com/investing ideas, and be sure to sign up for our email newsletter for more outstanding content and reports about investing. The show is for entertainment purposes only and should not be taken as investment advice. Please seek professional advice or do your own research when making any investment decision.